They're using the numbers again because I know they were going to change
Okay,
it just to
yes.
the iPhone.
Really?
Hmm.
Like the Xbox.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Syncfrog Expert Hour for 9/9/2014. My name is JP. We're going to be going through probably about 30 minutes worth of stuff today. If we have any questions or anything like that, I will be more than happy to answer them and extend the session if needed. So we're just going to start off here today on the Syncfrog homepage. And so to answer any questions that you might have about our homepage, we always have the Get Started for free. And all Syncfrog accounts are created as free. They are not free trials, they are free accounts. We have some information for our Infusionsoft users here. How does the system work? Why would you want to use Syncfrog? And then lastly, our pricing. A lot of questions have come up about our pricing lately. So if you click on View Packages, you'll see all of our pricing information, and it says 1 login per connector, which is your free account, which is our basic, and you get 1 data leap, a manual sync, and community support. And again, that is free for life. Then you have your next one up, which is your bronze, which would be 5 data leaps. And a lot of the questions have come across of what actually is a data leap, right? Is it one time can I move my data across, or is it multiple? So I'll just read it out loud for the group. A data leap is the process of sending information from one place to another. So sending results of a SurveyMonkey survey to Infusionsoft would be 1 data leap. The basic version allows you to set up 1 data leap. The paid versions allow for more. Once the leap is set up, there is no limit to the amount of actual data you can send. So think of data leaps as multiple surveys. So 1 data leap would be, well, like I said, your CSAT survey or a MPS survey. However, you can leap that same survey multiple times to get new data every single time. So that is what a data leap is. So it is just essentially 1 set of mapping, and the amount of data can be ran several times. So that you can do all that with just the basic account. If you wanted to run multiple surveys, then you're looking at the bronze with 5 data leaps. If you were more of a enterprise type company, you're probably going to look at the silver, because you get 3 logins per connector, and that would give you sandbox and production credentials in Salesforce, CRMs, or multiple SurveyMonkey organizations as well, for those larger ones that have 3 or 4. I've worked at some companies where I know we had probably 7 or 8 people using SurveyMonkey for different things. You can actually whittle all of those down and have them all synchronized to the same place. And you get the 10 data leaps, and then you get the community and email support, and the better scheduling, so you can get actual daily scheduling. Then we go up to our gold, which is going to give you that hourly scheduling and unlimited for everything else, and it's also at the price point of $199 US. So now that we've talked about how much it is and what things mean, so let's move a little bit of data, shall we? So today we're going to be creating some leads off of a spreadsheet that I've got. So this is a Google sheet, and say this was like a trade show. I want to create all these people as leads, right? So we have, I think there's about 150 people on this giant sheet of names. So what I want to do is I want to move this Google Sheet data to, today we're going to be using Salesforce. Hey, all right. So notice we have no leads for today, and I refresh it and you'll see that there is no leads. So I'm going to create our new data leap, right? So we're going to go into Syncfrog, and this is, I've already logged myself in. We'll click on Create New Data Leap, and we will say our Google spreadsheet to Salesforce. Okay, then click on Next. Tell it what credentials we're using. So there we go. Those are my credentials for my Google Drive. And I'm going to select what spreadsheet it is. And I've got a whole ton, and there it is, giant sheet of names. Now our collection method, which is incremental, which is any new rows or all rows. I'm going to do incremental because this document could be updated and reran. Incremental will just synchronize the new rows since the last time it has been synchronized. That's a strange sentence. Tell it what credentials we're using. I'm using a developer account of Salesforce to put all of my data in. Again, it could be multiples if you had at least a silver package. And we'll click on Next here. And we'll give it an optional data leap title for it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let it use its default title. So we're going to click on Create. And we'll do the button that says, OK, take me to the mapping. And that's going to think about it for a second. And while it does that, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. Well, that was quick. All right, so what do we want to do inside of Salesforce? Like I said, we want to create them as leads, and you can see that nice, lovely little lead screen right there. So in our Salesforce types here, we are going to click on our basic types, and one of our basic type is lead. You'll notice that Syncfrog has it broken down by most commonly used up here at the top in the basic. So you have your account, campaign, case, contact, lead, opportunity, and task. Then you have any of your advanced types, which are anything that's not really used very often, like contract or event, um, idea, or holiday, stuff like that. And then anything that you've actually created as a user or have access to, any custom fields, those are all going to be at the bottom. So you have all of your custom types. So these are all different custom objects that I've created inside of Salesforce. One quick way to figure out if it is custom is it just has that _C at the end. So all of these will have that. So I've got a whole bunch of ones. I've got an MPS one. I've created a bunch of SurveyMonkey ones, some work order stuff. But again, since we're just doing leads, we're going to select lead from our dropdown and then click on Add New Section. Excellent. So by default, it's going to do a create new statement, and our required fields have already been added. So you will be creating these as new leads every single time. So this is really simple. We have company, and well, we're going to select in our Google spreadsheet here. Hey, the field that's called company. That's really difficult. Then we're going to see our last name field here, and we are going to select last name from our list. And let's try the auto map fields for the rest. Let's see what happened. We got email address, going to email address, and first name to first name. Now, is there anything else we want to add into our lead field? So if we select in our leads, we can take a look at any of our lead fields that we have access to. And is there anything else on our spreadsheet that we want? So we have first name, we have last name, we have email, we have company, and we have a fixed value. Well, I'm going to use that fixed value because I want to automatically enter the lead source. So lead source in our pick list, and I'm going to use the lead source of web. All right, so all of our leads are going to come over with the lead source of web. So if I click on new lead, easy way to get that is a lead source right there. There's web, but you could use phone inquiry, partner referral, purchase list, or other, or anything else that you've added to that. We can also have it change the lead status as well. I'm obviously going to create this as open, not contacted, because I want my sales team to go ahead and grab all that information. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. And there we go. Okay, so now if I go back to Syncfrog, we have our lead source web. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. It's going to apply our current mapping. And I'm going to find it from my list, so I should have a Google spreadsheet to Salesforce right there. Excellent. Now I can go ahead and click on Activate. What this will do is it's going to create those new leads. And since I have a paid for version, I can create a schedule. If you're using the free version, you would just have the Run Now with an option to upgrade as well. Go ahead and click on Run Now. That's going to grab our Google spreadsheet data. Again, that's 150 fields of data. So we've got 152 records being processed. I added 2 since the last time I used this. And it's going to be fairly quick. I think this is going to take less than a minute to move that much data over to us. Now again, this is going to be creating it as a new for every lead. This could very well be update existing or create new. We could also do it as a search for contact, first, then create them as a lead. So once this is done processing, it's about halfway there. We'll go through the two-step process and using a little bit of conditions to search for people. Awesome. So that ran, and you can see that I can export this information if I would like. Again, I'm using a paid-for type version of Syncfrog. So I can select all the data that came across, and again, my job has finished. I can also view the log details, and that will give us what row it's completed, what the operation was, where it went to, and the actual target ID. So that's kind of actually useful to track down where the lead had been, the lead ID. So if I go ahead and close that, and I go back into Salesforce, and if I refresh today's leads, we now have 152 leads that have come across, and they're all in alphabetical order. But you can see that the email address and all of that information came over, and it's all lead status open, not contacted, and our lead source came across as web. So that is easy enough to do using Syncfrog. I mean, that's just a generic list that you would get from using English, from a trade show or anything along those lines that would give you the list. All right, cool. So that is just creating leads. Now, like I had mentioned, we can do all sorts of cool stuff. So inside of our mapping here, if this is the same exact spreadsheet that we're taking a look at, is maybe we wanted to have them search as a contact first, just so we're not duplicating contacts and leads. We can add our contact into our Salesforce types here, click on Add New Section. And I'm going to drag that actually above our lead, so that's easy enough to do. So the first thing it's going to do is create a new contact. Well, we don't want to do that, right? So we have create new record. We actually want to see if our contact was already there, right? So how do you find a contact quickly and easily with that list? Well, email address, right? Email addresses are fairly unique things, and most people use one, especially when we're talking about a trade show. Obviously, they're not going to use their Gmail address usually. So, and we will look for that in our contacts via email. Now we can have some logic added into this. If multiple records are found, what do you want Syncfrog to actually do? Do you want us to treat it as an error? Use the first created, or last modified? If I'm just using a find statement, and the reason will be pretty apparent, is if they're a contact, I really don't want anything to have happen, right? I just want to know, don't create them in lead if they're found as a contact. So I'm going to use last modified that way. We can also, if we do get an error on a specific line item, what do you want to have happen on that? Do you want us to stop processing the job completely? Do you want us just to skip the section or skip the source item and continue? I usually say skip the source item and continue, because that'll just skip that one line item on our spreadsheet. All right, so we are doing a find existing statement. Actually, we will say stop processing completely if we do a find existing. Okay. Then if they're not found, I'm going to create them as a lead. So we're doing create new lead. Again, stop processing completely. However, I'm going to use this little add condition button here. And we are going to say that we only want to create them as a lead if they're not found as a contact. So we have our previous section. And I'm going to click on add equals, well, if they're found, I don't want to create them as lead. I want to only do the not completed contacts, right? So we've added some logic to it. So the contact is not completed. So if it was unable to find a contact, then go ahead and create them as a lead. So again, our first thing that we're going to do is find the existing contact. If there is an error, actually, I'm going to say skip this section and continue. Because if there is an error, if they're not able to be found as a contact, then it will just go to lead, which is the appropriate logic flow. And then we have our condition on our lead to say, you know, that the contact part was not completed. All right. So if I go into our contact list here, and let's say Snake Plissken, let's add him to our spreadsheet here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, go to our giant sheet of names, and scroll down to, oh, that's a bit too quick. And we are just going to copy and paste because, well, I am lazy, and I want to make sure that we are getting the same exact data. And where is Snake Plissken work for? Oh, I give him account name. So if we go back to New York City. Cool. And once I click out of that, you'll see that it's saving. Now, if I go ahead and we have this mapped over, we have our contact, then our lead. So if I go ahead and save this, we have our mappings changed. So we have our Google spreadsheet to Salesforce. You see that we did activate this one time. So there's our one run and our time date. And if I click on activate, we will say run now. And since we are using incremental, it should find one new record. However, we should not have a contact created for this person. Or, I'm sorry, we should not have a lead created for this person. So if I click on view log details, okay, so we get a warning, no action taken due to handling failed conditions or no field values. Actually, that is the appropriate action it should have taken because it did find our contact and did not create them as a lead. So if I click on cancel and I look for this particular email address, hopefully I haven't tested this before, click on search, we should only have Mr. Snake Plissken as a contact. Perfect. So it did not create him as a contact, as a lead. So there we go. So a little bit of logic built into it to have it search for a lead first. I'm sorry, search for a contact, then a lead. So that is some information that we added in. Now, real quickly, we can go over how to map over a SurveyMonkey survey. So you can see here I've got a ton of them. So we have Salesforce, sorry, SurveyMonkey to Oracle, Infusionsoft, Marketo, even Salesforce. So obviously I've got a whole bunch of those, and even Sugar CRM, hey, even some Twitter to Salesforce. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set up a mapping for a MPS survey. So here's our MPS survey that I've created inside of SurveyMonkey. Really simple. One-page survey, 2 questions. How would you recommend us to a friend or colleague? 1 being bad, 10 good. And then we have our text field. So I'm going to go ahead and collect responses with this. So I'm going to send it out. So I'm going to say track your survey respondents and click on next. That's going to create a new collector for us. So we're going to say add manually. And I'm going to have this sent to me. And we will click on add recipients. Click on save and continue. We'll save it, send it to new and unsent. And we'll say 9/9/14. Save and continue. And send now. It doesn't actually send now, it always waits 4 minutes. I think that's so they give you some time to hit cancel, and that way they can just schedule all their jobs to be pretty close to running on even times. So while that's doing that, we're going to take a look inside of Salesforce, where we typically put these MPS. The coffee is taking effect, and I've been talking for 30 minutes. So if we look at our contacts here, we can see Mr. Snake Pliskin here. We have some survey feedback, and we have a MPS object. So in our new MPS object, we have our actual score and our comments. So what we're going to do is I'll have this synchronized to this MPS object. I've created a lookup relationship to our contact. So you can see it via the spyglass here that it is a lookup. And we'll map that to this object. And just so you can see what the custom object looks like, we'll go to our setup here. And objects, MPS. There it is. So we have our custom fields and relationships. So we have our actual score, which is a number. Our comments, text area long, which is the 32,000 character. Contact, which is our lookup relationship. And a MPS score, which is our text field. And we'll use a fixed value to convert those over. So cool. All right, so if we go into our data leaps, we're going to create a new data leap. And we're going to say SurveyMonkey. And that's going to go to Salesforce, because that's the CRM we're using today. Go ahead and put our credentials in. And we should have one called MPS Survey. Hey, all right. And we should have a collector, and it should be our new email collector, right? Email invitation 1, which is the one that you just saw me sent out. And our collection method, which is going to be either new responses or all responses. Well, if you've never ran it before, all of them are considered new. So we'll just click on next. All right, cool. Put our credentials in. Again, this is my developer account. And I'm going to be lazy and not even going to put a title in. And just click on create. And we'll say, OK, take me to the mapping. Cool. So the very first thing we want to do is we want to find that contact, right? So we're going to find that contact using their email address, just like we showed before. So we're going to say contact, add new section. Well, again, we're not going to be doing the create new record. We're just going to be doing a find statement. Although we could do update existing, create new. Today we're just going to use that find. And again, it's really simple as using an email address. Since we use SurveyMonkey to send out the survey, we can use this respondent email field. And that's going to go to email. And again, set our logic. So we're going to use our last modified. Okay. And I'm going to map our MPS side of things. So we have our MPS object. Go ahead and click there and click on Add New Section. Well, we're going to try Auto Map Fields, see what happens. No fields were added by AutoMap. Okay. So we'll click on Map New Field. So we have our SurveyMonkey field, which is our how likely. So we have our first question here, and that's going to go to our actual score, right? So that's our number field, which will take up to 2 digits, right? Which would be our 10 value. And I also want to pass over what could we do better, if anything, and that's going to go to our comments text area. That's easy enough. And we're going to map our new fields. The next thing we want to do is we want to know who actually did this, right? So we have our contact reference field. Well, I can't say respond an email in this because it's not looking it up via the email address. It's actually looking it up via the ID value. So since we used our first section to locate our contact, we have this lovely little button that says reference one contact. And that'll tie our ID value from our contact find to our MPS. So that looks up our contact in our first part and uses it in our second part. And now I'm going to map a new field. We have our comments done, we have our contact done, we have our MPS name and our MPS score. So in the MPS score, I want to pass over the text, right? So inside of MPS score, it is a text field, and I want the text either promoter, detractor, or passive coming across. So inside of our mapping here, we're going to set up some logic. So we're going to use our fixed value, and we're going to say promoter, right? So promoter is going to get passed over if in our first question, our 1 to 10 is 9 or 10, right? So equal or greater than or equal to 9 or 10. So that's going to pass over the value of promoter to the very first question if it's 9 or 10. Excellent. So we'll click on apply. And we will do that again for our passive. So again, we're going to use a fixed value. I'm going to go to our MPS score and click on add question. So this one's going to be a little bit different because it's got to be 7 or 8. So it's equal to 8. And I'm going to click on add one more time because I need to use our OR statement. And there's our logic of OR. Again, it's going to be the same question. And since we did 8, we'll do 7. So if I click on this first part, you can say it says equal to 8 or 7. And there's our logic right there. Now, we do allow you to use advanced logic on this, like 1 or 2 and 3, anything along those lines. Since it is a OR statement that's 7 or 8, it's fairly simple. Cool. So 7 or 8, we'll pass that over. And again, we'll just click on Map New Field. And we'll use this last one, which is that's the tractor. That's going to go to our MPS score. And again, we're going to use that condition. And that's going to be our very first question. Click on add. Less than or equal to 6. Okay, so if I click on apply, and we can go ahead and save that. So we'll just review it real quick. So our very first mapping panel is finding our existing contact inside of our CRM using their email address. After that, we will be sending their number scores to the actual score box, any comments they've added, using the very first mapping panel to reference our contact, to put our contact value in for us. We'll also have our promoter text only get synced over if they pick greater than 9, passive text if they do 7 or 8, and less than 6 for the detractor. So that should work. Click on save. And now that that's completed, I will, on another screen, which you won't see, is our survey, which should have come across. If it didn't get gobbled up in my spam filter, which probably it has. Of course. Alright, it got gobbled up in my spam folder, which is lovely. So if I look inside of here, and refresh here, okay. And I sent it to myself, and our mail system's too smart for me to get mailed from myself using my same from address. So therefore, I won't be getting the data results. Awesome. So that's a fault of my mail system and not anything that I had anything to do about. That's great. All right. So imagine, if you will, that I was. It's going to take 5 minutes for it to even get to you, so it's not a big deal. So imagine, if you will, that actually did work. It's actually pretty funny. So our mapping had been set up and everything else along those lines, and here's actually our information. So if I was to click on activate, obviously since I couldn't take the survey, it is not going to work. However, if I do a lookup for me, and there are tons of times as all sorts of accounts, so it probably would have been a pain to find me, but that would have created a new MPS inside of the system for us with our actual score, which would have been 7, and that would have given us the word passive and any comments be said. And that's easy enough. So, on that high note, I think we will call it for the Syncfrog Expert Hour for 9/9/2014. If you have any further questions or want to try our software out, go ahead and email hello@syncfrog.com. And I look forward to talking to you. Have a great day.